Hi guys, so this is some art tutorials that I'm doing for you guys. I hope you enjoy them. This first one might seem a little bit simple, but it's a good basis to start to build up your drawing skills, so then hopefully by the end of this video or a bit of practice after this video you will feel a bit more confident with the next video, which is to draw an impossible triangle. And then to go on to the impossible star, which can be a little bit tricky if you don't have a bit of a basis for shading, which is what this video will be about. Please stop the video at any time to continue with your drawing. Don't feel you have to keep up with the video. Some of it is sped up to make it a bit shorter for you. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and if there's anything you'd like to learn how to draw, let me know and I'd love to find a way of being able to show you. So here we go. Okay, so this is a drawing lesson on how to draw 3D shapes using shade, and we're going to use what's called a gradient shading, which means going from light to darker. Can go from dark all the way through light back to dark. In a minute we're just going to use light to dark. We're also going to work on showing a shadow from a 3D shape on a piece of paper to really make it look as 3D as possible. So I'm going to start with doing a cylinder. It's quite a simple shape, so it should make it a bit easier for you to see how to do the gradient shading to make it as 3D as possible. So let's get started. So I would advise having 2 pencils, both of them being sharp, so that they're ready to go, so you can keep going if one breaks or not. I've got rubber here, but we're only going to use that if we really have to. So we're going to start by drawing the outline of the cylinder shape. So we need 2 parallel lines. As far away as you want, you can make this as big or as small as you like. I like to have it kind of about the size, a bit smaller than the size of my hand, just because it makes it a bit easier to work with. So let's get that started. So the 2 parallel lines, you can make them as long or as short as you like, so just they don't have to be perfectly straight. Now we're going to do the top bit, which is going to be, if you look on this picture here, there is it's kind of semicircle, and then you join the bottom, again another semicircle, making this kind of oval shape on the top. So again, we're just sketching, just doing it lightly to get the shape that we need. Like so. Once you've done that, we're going to do the bottom of the cylinder. So you're going to do a semicircle along the bottom, following the same line as this one here. So again, it'll be almost a parallel line at the bottom. So this is our basic shape. I'm just going to go over the edge of my shape just to make it a little bit darker, because that will help whilst doing the shading later on. Okay, so we're going to start with the shading. I like to decide where light is coming from with this kind of shape. So I'm going to choose the same as this one here, which so the light is coming from this direction. So the light will hit here more than this side of the shape. So this will be my lightest shading part, this will be my darkest. So to start with this, I'm just going to do a light using my pencil. I tend to hold my pencil further up whilst I'm shading, because it allows me a chance to put bit more control on how hard I'm pressing on the pencil. This prevents me from pushing really hard and making the dark shade, which is what we don't want to begin with. So just lightly shading this side here. I angle it just slightly downward towards the centre of the shape here, because that will then help with the building of the kind of curve of the cylinder. So now I've got to this point, this part of my shape is going to be a lot darker. So this is where I'll start holding the pencil a bit further down so I can apply a little bit more pressure to make it a bit darker. So starting here, I'm just going to push down just a little bit harder, as you can see. Again, holding the pencil at a slant, so then you get a bit more of an even surface of the pencil on the page. In the next section, I'm going to press down just a little bit harder, which won't look much different, but we'll build it up. And this final section, I'm going to angle my pen, hold it a little bit further down and angle the direction of my shading this way. This helps to bring the kind of curve in on this side. I'll just go back along the edge. So now we've got the basic curve. What we're going to do now is we're going to kind of blend these sections together a bit more, so this time starting from the right hand side, so the dark side of the shape, and moving across. We'll stop to about here with the shading, so then this bit stays light. So we're just going to go back over this side, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction to what I did before, applying the same kind of pressure to make this even darker. Don't worry if you go over the edge, you can adjust it a little bit later. I'm going to go back to holding my pencil a bit further along, so then I'm not having as much pressure on the pencil. This will help keep the pencil nice and light, which will help the shading and blending the shading together. Now that we've shaded in the main part of our cylinder, and I'm quite happy with this, I am just going to go slightly and darken this edge ever so slightly, just to give it a bit more of a rounded feel. And there you go. So now I'm going to do the top. I tend to do a darker section towards the front, because when light would hit a shape like this, say the light is about here, coming from about this direction, for the shadow to be this way, the light isn't necessarily going to touch this front part. It's actually going to kind of get caught on the edge of the shape here, which will make this bit slightly shadowed, and then the light would actually hit the back part here, which gives a contrast to the shaded side of the cylinder here. So to do this, again, just like we did from here, pressing a little bit harder, shade in this edge of the cylinder's top. And then spread, lightening the gradient of your shade to the back, like so. I tend to go over this line of that shows the edge of the shape and make it a bit darker, because then it clearly shows that it's a 3D shape, because you can clearly see the edges. Like so. Brilliant. Now we are going to finish off by doing the shadow of the object behind. So to do the shadow, you want to start off just starting about this, where you start to get to the dark part of your object. Lightly add a bit of shadow to go that way. We're not going to draw a shape because shadow doesn't always feel the shape like you would expect it to. So just going to lightly shade a bit of area, gradually building round. With a cylinder, it will be more of a round shadow, whereas say with a cube, you would have a bit more of an angular shadow. So I'm going to say mine's probably going to go about halfway up the shape. Just loosely create a kind of shadow shape, and by doing this you can kind of see how it would look. Now I'm just going to fill the shade this in. Like so, and that's a good starting point for our shadow. As you can see, in most shadows you will have a darker area closer to the shape than further away, so we're going to do that by just going back over, pressing a little bit harder, not too hard, and go over maybe in a different direction because this is going to add to the shading, make it a bit darker. And then blend out the edges because we don't want it too harsh, the contrast between this lighter shade and this darker shade. So that is our cylinder completed. It might take a few attempts to do this to pull it off how you would like it to be, but that's absolutely fine. Take your time, there is no rush at all. And once you've mastered this shape, you could then go on and try a different shape like a cube or a triangular prism, and see how you get on with those. So guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you're pleased with the outcome. If it didn't quite go to plan, please try again. The more you try, the better you'll get. I can't wait to see some of the pictures of how you get on. Yeah, please stay safe. Can't wait to see you all again. Until the next video, see you later.